How are you with receiving money? Does it feel good? Does it make you uncomfortable? Do you wish you could do it better? You're going to love today's show. Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello, and welcome to the Money and You show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. Have a phenomenal show today. I recently, well, not so recently, I don't know, life is just kind of morphing all together, but I was at the Wealthy Women's Summit on a beautiful yacht and heard a fantastic speaker and have been hoping to get her on the show to talk to you. And she's here today, so I'm super excited. And I'm going to introduce you in just a minute to Andrea Quinn. Andrea Quinn is a certified life and business coach, motivational speaker, and author based in Los Angeles. She's known as the empowerment activist for women and has a reputation as a powerful advisor to many in the corporate world and entertainment industry. Her unique and natural gift of sharing her wisdom offers an original perspective that isn't based on ego or hype, but in real-world experience, and she delivers. She has developed a curriculum called the Quinn Essentials, which is a program used by many individuals as well as companies to expand their businesses, inspire communication within groups, and empower people to live their best lives. Andrea facilitates women's groups all over the world through digital classes and live weekend workshops where she teaches her tools to thousands of women and is successful at guiding them to accomplish their dreams. One of the reasons she's so highly trusted is her ability to tackle complicated issues and resolve them with integrity so that all parties involved feel empowered. Believing that truly empowered people live the greatest lives, it's her life's purpose to assist people in living authentic lives that they feel good about. Andrea is expanding the reach of her popular program called the Quinn Essentials for Women, 9 tools to accomplish anything, with her New York Times bestseller book with the same title. Motivational speaking is also a passion for her, and she is invited to speak regularly at many international and corporate events where she empowers women and men. While she has a presence in many of the studios, networks, and agencies in Hollywood, she has also advised on Wall Street, the Silicon Valley, the Pentagon, and in London's powerful music industry. Seeing people, especially women, succeed by accomplishing their dreams is her biggest dream come true. When she's not coaching, leading groups, or public speaking, she lives in the Hollywood Hills with her talented husband, Chris, and their family of 3 dogs and 2 cats. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you so much for having me.
Here's the book. I sort of mangled that piece of the intro, but it's the Quinn Essentials for Women, and this is a fantastic book. She gifted me one. I'm super excited. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're
here.
Nice
to see you again.
I was so inspired. Nice to see you too. I was so inspired by the talk that you gave at the Wealthy Women's Summit,
Thank
you. It was just phenomenal. So I'd love for you to share some of those wonderful things that you said. And one of the things that really struck me and stuck out in my mind was your discussion on receiving and how important that is, and just the way you put it made so much sense and just made me just sit up and go, wow, this is a different way of talking about this and looking at it.
Yes. Well, it's so interesting because what happens to women especially is we figure that the more we do, the more things will happen for us. And that's actually not the truth. Mm-hmm. And we realize that the more we do, the more tired we are.
Yeah.
And we don't have the energy or the power to continue or sustain what we want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And so what happens with that is that we have to align with receiving because we're receivers. And that's the first tool in my book, which is a really in-depth look at women as receptive. We have a hard time even receiving compliments without going, oh, no, Right. And so when it comes to money, money is an energy.
Right.
It really is. And so if you can't receive and get in a line with receiving and bringing it to you and actually allowing it to land, it actually doesn't show up.
Yeah.
And that's really a lot of because, life is an inside job as much as it's an outside job,
Yes,
right?
it is, yeah.
So, just like with some people when it comes to money, even they could have billions of dollars and still have a lack consciousness.
Yes.
Still have a lack of worth,
right,
and not feel, aligned to receive it. And I think that receiving is super important.
It is super important, and I love that you're bringing that up right now because, as I just mentioned before we started, I have a lot going on with my family, moving my parents and a sister into assisted living. All kinds of things have happened in the fall. So I've been trying to get better with receiving. I'm not a good receiver. I haven't been in the past. I'm working on that. And your talk actually really kind of highlighted some of the ways that I've been resisting that. And I'm a big giver. And I think that's another thing. When you sort of identify with being a nurturer and a giver, it creates that much more difficulty, I think, to receive.
Well, it can when you understand that, like, if you look at receiving is like an in-breath, right? So you breathe it in. Then your giving is the out-breath.
Taking advantage of this breathing moment.
Yes, but if you can't take it in, you can't give it authentically. Yeah. And then what your giving ends up being, even with your money, is obligation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then once you feel obligated, the energy around it really, it doesn't feel good to anybody.
Right.
But understanding, bringing energy to you, being receptive, understanding that you are the receiver of the energy of money, the receiver of, I never have to teach a woman how to give.
Yeah.
Ever. I have to really align them with the fact that if they'll begin to consciously understand receiving first, the giving becomes effortless. Receiving money becomes effortless because 9 times out of 10, what's between you and receiving money is your thought processes and how you feel about your worth, about power, because money is power. So women feel very uncomfortable with power. Right. They think they'd be okay with it, but once it starts happening, they're not, unless they do their inner work. And I think that's a really big part of the money equation as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And how you do money is how you do everything. I always feel that, you see these same patterns and same ideas coming up all the time about money, but then about other things as well, your time, your energy, all kinds of things. And I am finding it interesting because as you're talking, I've been trying to practice asking for help, asking for, people. And it's just interesting, the emotional sort of upheaval that, you enjoy the help on the one hand, but it's never feels calm and settled. It feels a little like nervous energy while you're receiving the help, for me anyway.
Well, it's a habit. It's a habit of not receiving. And one of the things that's really important, if you really understand, because women love to make other people feel good. So when you understand that you actually receiving is generous because it allows someone else to give, you'll stop being as nervous about it. Yeah. Because we feel great when we give. Right. So we're actually giving the opportunity to someone else to do that as well. And when you do that, there's a step-by-step process in my book that talks about how to get yourself aligned with that power. Because, the more we do, the more angry we are, the more bitter we are, the less money we keep. Right. And so I really can see that it is money, as you know, money is just as much psychological and spiritual as it is physical. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's really why I do the show, because we're talking about your relationship with money, because all that emotional, psychological stuff needs to be addressed before the money management part of it, which is really the simplest part of it, is really done very well. It is the simplest, but some people don't think that it is, but it really is. Yeah. Well, they get confused because it feels hard to them, but that's because of the emotional part of it, really, or the psychological aspects of it, not the actual things that you do with money. That's all really quite simple. You can learn that anywhere. Right, but the thing that's so interesting about money is that people think if I have it, my problems will go away. Yes. Well, no, they won't. What's that saying? More money, more problems, right? It's like that's the way it goes. It's like you think, and people think, oh well, if I just have this money, things will change. It won't, because wherever you are, wherever you go, there you are. It's
right.
you,
Right.
and so this is why some people, they make a lot of money and they have none because they give it away because keeping that power disempowers them psychologically. So it's about, especially with women, learning to actually receive it, letting it land, and then deciding what to do with it on the out breath is a super important thing.
Yeah, that's such a great point in so many ways. Getting the money and then giving it away. Sometimes it's giving, sometimes it's just overspending because that's just a habitual thing for people, which also gets rid of it for you.
It's a filling a void. It's an addiction, just like overeating or over drinking or gambling, or, we're addicted to a dopamine response, and it comes in the form of giving also. You can, give money to a lot of people because it makes you feel good, but then sometimes there's not a lot left for you.
Right. And I was having a conversation a while ago with a couple, and they worked together, they were going to receive some money, and immediately the question was, well, what do I do with it? I need to do something with the money. And I was working with somebody else, and he said, why don't you just let it sit there for a little while? Just have it with you for a time and then figure out, what you want to do. But we do kind of have this sort of knee-jerk, I need to do something with this. And oftentimes it's just spending it or investing it in something.
Yes, and not holding the power. And and receiving makes you feel powerful. But it's about, even with a compliment, if somebody says, you look great, 9 times out of 10, no one can say, thank you, and just take it in. They have to go, really? No. And they make all these excuses. This whole thing, or I couldn't do my hair, it's raining. It's all that stuff. Like, you can't even receive a compliment. And when you really get that, especially as a woman, and I have, I've taught my workshop. I've been so blessed to have my book become an international bestseller, and I get letters from women all over the world about receiving just kind of blew their mind a little bit because they had no idea. They thought they had to work harder. And I don't know one woman that has to work harder.
Yeah, that work harder thing, that is, I've always, kind of prided myself in my work ethic and all that stuff, and I'm trying to have my kids have a good work ethic. But there's a difference between having a good work ethic and feeling like working harder equates to more money.
Correct.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And receiving, and you know what? It also can make you ill.
Oh.
And then you're spending your money on your doctor bills.
Gosh.
People don't realize anymore that the value of receptivity, self-care, those things are so important in money.
They're so important. And again, I keep going back to this because it's so present on my mind, but I have learned so much in these past few months dealing with my parents about the healthcare system and the costs of care and everything else, which I sort of knew, but I didn't know it like firsthand when big things happen, just how devastating financially it can be. And it's that much more, I have that much more incentive and reason now to think you can't let that much stress in. You can't let that much overworking in so that you don't exercise or you don't take time to, it's just. Or
you don't meditate, or you don't sit with your family for a dinner, or you don't pray, or whatever it is, or walk your dog, whatever it is that brings you that kind of joy. Because what we find too, and I've talked to thousands of women all over the world for many years. I started teaching this curriculum in 2008, and it's those simple things they miss.
Yes.
It's those little moments that we think, that this big thing's going to, those fancy restaurants and fancy handbags, they're going to, they're good for a little bit, but it's the small things they miss. I want to go to yoga. I want to go for a walk with my friends. I want to, have dinner with my kids. Like, those are the most important things.
Yeah.
And, yes, money is a valuable resource, but it's not as valuable of a resource as time and health and love.
For sure.
Right? And joy.
Yeah.
So that's why, you have to learn to receive as a woman. You cannot just give. And what a lot of women think is that this is disempowering. Like, I'll somehow be weaker if I receive. No, you will be more stronger because you'll be aligned with who you really are. I mean, if you take a look at our bodies, we're receptacles, we're receivers. We receive seeds to create children, we're the receivers. And this has nothing to do with sexual preference. This is the female anatomy. We are the receivers. And when you kind of go, whoa, I'm coded in my DNA to receive, and I'm doing none of it. And once a woman begins to understand this, and she actually goes through my curriculum and my class and starts thinking about herself, she'll even use the word. I mean, people don't even use the word. I would love to receive you to my home. Like they used to talk, you go to a wedding and what is there? There's a receiving line. You're being received. And so when you really start playing with that, I always tell women, just go have fun. Go to the grocery store. And when they say, would you like help out with your groceries? Say, yes, I would love to receive that. Oh my God. You do the walk of shame next to the cart because you're like, I can do it myself. I know you can do it yourself. But what you're not doing is saving your precious energy. See, our precious energy as females is what creates in the world. So if we can't create all we want to heal and save this world if we don't have any energy. So if you can't, and I use this as a barometer, if you can't receive free assistance from a grocery person to your car, how are you going to receive your dreams? I mean, and that's really the truth. It's about becoming comfortable with receiving.
Yeah, and I feel like, I have a pretty strong gratitude practice that I love, and I feel like that does kind of ground me into some kind of energy of receiving, because you're thinking about what you have received already, or and so I hadn't actually thought about it until right this minute in the way that you're talking about it. But as much as I might think of myself as not as a receiver, I do focus on that on your
gratitude. But it's so interesting. Gratitude journals are great, but until you do the receiving work, you have a list of everything you've been able to do. I've been able to do this. I was able to do that. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank you for giving me that, right? It's in the receiving thing. But you'll realize that a lot of our gratitude lists are peppered with all the things we were lucky enough to do.
True. Yeah, interesting.
So I always tell the people in my workshops and in my book, change it from your to-do list to a to-receive list.
That's nice. Yeah, I love that.
And what would you like to receive today? I always say, what one thing could I receive today that would make this day more effortless for me? That's a great question. And then a woman usually goes, she takes a breath, because it's about bringing something. What one thing could I receive? Who could I receive from today? What guidance could I receive that would help me with my family's situation? Where could I receive? Who could I receive from? What could I receive? And you can actually feel energy coming to you.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Versus what do I have to do? Who do I have to call? How do I get this? Then you can feel the energy actually leaving you. Versus when I ask a question, what could I receive right now that could empower me? I can feel the energy.
Yeah, let's talk for a minute. I love that. Let's talk for a second about, because this is all, I'm sure, landing with people. Until you get in a room, a big event of some kind, and everybody's talking about what they're doing and how successful they are, and they have 5 businesses, and they're all $1 million businesses or whatever it is, and you're sitting there going, wow, I only have one, and suddenly you feel the adrenaline going, and you better start something new. It's one of those things where you can understand this intellectually, of course, and then you can you take it in and you just love the feeling of what you're saying, but then suddenly you're comparing yourself again with other people, and you don't feel like you're busy enough, I guess is my point.
Right. So let's say you were in a room with people that had 5 businesses and you only have one. Yeah. Well, if you really got that having one successful business was amazing, if you look at the entire world, that just speaks to how hard we are on ourselves as people. The first question that I would ask when I'm coaching with someone is, okay, ask yourself, what could I receive in the way of a second business? Who could I receive assistance from in starting my next venture while maintaining the one I have? The way we ask ourselves questions is the way we actually progress in this world. And if you're always comparing yourself, no wonder things aren't easy. They're very, very difficult because there is no such thing as comparison. If you start comparing, what you're telling me is that your ego leads the way. And when your ego leads the way, you will never be happy. It's about your heart leading the way. So right in the moment is, okay, in this moment, I can see that I have one business. And it may not be as good as you want it to be. And that's okay.
Right.
That's, you can expand it. So then you have a choice of, if I could receive expansion around my business today, who could I talk to here at this convention? Or how do I expand into a second business? Just because someone has 5 businesses doesn't mean they're all 5 successful.
Right.
So, but it looks that way.
Yeah.
And so it's how you speak to yourself. And I'm always speaking to myself in receiving. How do I bring it to me? How do I receive it so I can create it?
Right.
So I believe that women, and again, it's in my book and it's in my classes that I teach, that I believe women are here for one reason and one reason only, to receive, to create. That's it.
Yeah, I remember loving that, actually.
Everything we do is the creative process. So if you're in that room and there's people have 5 businesses, you only have one, then you need to receive to create the next business. But you can't just start doing, because that adrenaline is your ego.
Yeah.
And that's where the inner work comes in.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And sometimes we don't even actually want 5 businesses. We just suddenly feel in that moment that
inadequate.
Inadequate. Thank you. That was the right word. Yeah.
And you're not. See, if every woman knew that they were this absolute magical creator. I mean, think it. We are receptive creators. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal. And when you start treating yourself like a big deal, everybody else treats you like a big deal.
That's a huge point, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, identifying with yourself as a big deal also, that aligns in a way with having more money and more abundance, because
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have a belief system that big deals it's okay if they have a lot of money. It's just not okay if we have a lot of money.
Right.
We're not big enough deals.
Right.
So, yeah.
And when you begin to honor yourself, so does the world. It's all a big mirror, which is why the inner work is so important. Again, I've been very fortunate with the clientele that I've had, at coaching very above the line executives and business owners around the world. And some of them are the most successful financially and still feel a sense of unworthiness and lack. And there's that is nothing that money can fill.
Yeah.
It's what you can feel through your inner work. Right. And when you start that and you feel a little better about who you really are, boy, everybody, opportunities just keep coming, people keep coming, and then all of a sudden your abundance is matched, because abundance isn't just money.
Right.
Abundance is a mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. It is all of it.
Right.
And so people want to feel abundant more than they actually want to feel rich.
Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that. And again, we're always talking about feelings here. We're not talking about tangible, green stuff in your wallet. We're just talking about, it's all it really is about is how you want to feel. Correct.
I mean, somebody told me many years ago that, Andrea, money is printed paper. It's just a piece of paper with printing in it. For some reason, that just got me. I was in my 20s and I was like, whoa, it's just paper. Freaked me out. And that was it. Because my money story was hard in the beginning of my life.
Do you want to tell a little about that? That'd be great.
Well, I got married very young, and I had to go through personal bankruptcy before I was 21 years old. So I couldn't even legally, I had an ex-husband who used my Social Security card and did a lot of things. So I was married at 20. I was home by the time, before I was 21. And I wasn't able to understand the power of money and what it did for me and to me. So I really had to learn about that money was an energy and it was a reflection of me. And it was a really hard lessons, but I'm glad I learned them. But it was, I grew up in a family where we were very fortunate, but I never knew the value of it. We could have whatever we wanted. Yeah. And then, so you end up giving it all away and you never truly understand that it's aligned with your personal empowerment, how you see the money. Yeah. Not the amount in the bank, but how you see yourself with money. And it was a big lesson for me.
So how did that translate? Did you end up with more fear around money, or how did you move through that?
Yeah, I became very fearful after that. I was 20 years old. I was bankrupt, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And so then, of course, like everyone who has an experience in life, I got remarried again in my 20s, and then I got divorced and I ended up with so much debt, and I took all the money. He left, so I couldn't go bankrupt again. So I had to work for 10 years to pay off a debt that wasn't even all mine. Yeah. And it was a cycle that just wouldn't stop until I actually had to stop and do the work. I mean, after 2 divorces, you kind of realize that there is a common denominator. It's usually you. And when it came to money, I always gave my money power away. Yeah. That was something that I just did. And then I had to learn.
Working with women, you find that this is an extremely common story.
Of course, which is why I work so much with women and I teach them, because I always tell them, if I can do this, you can do it. If I can come back from this, you can do it. Anything you've done, I've done it bigger. Like I've blown it. If I was going to mess up, I was going to mess up big, right? And so I really kept making those mistakes over and over again. And finally, I had enough of being unhappy, and I knew that I had to learn about it. And then when somebody said to me that money was a spiritual practice, I was like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. And then I began to understand the energy of money. And I read a book many years ago by a woman named Dr. Marie Nemeth, Nemeth, called The Energy of Money. Yeah. And it really shifted everything for me. Yeah. And it started me on this journey with healing my money wounds.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because just like relationships and, work life, everything else, you have a money life, and it has its own set of pain and
wounds, breakups,
exactly.
Everything.
Yes.
Loss.
Yeah. And so, we focus a lot on what you do when you lose a job, but we don't, the whole money thing, I mean, now I'm talking about this every single week, but we just don't talk about it, and we don't know anything, and we don't anticipate. We don't build that relationship like we do other things, and we don't try to get as much understanding of things like we do in other areas.
Right. No, people will talk about sex before they'll talk about their money.
All day long.
I mean, they have no problem talking about their sex lives. And if they're not having sex in their marriages, they don't have a problem talking about that.
Right.
But they won't tell you don't have any money.
No.
It's so
tell you
interesting.
How much they make. They won't. And you can, girlfriends, like you say, will talk about everything.
Yes.
Except
money.
What's going on in their money story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we as women have to learn to heal our shame around it, and to also understand a saying that really has always helped me through it. Was originally by Marianne Williamson, which was, if I could have done it better, I would have. Do you realize, great. Like with your money, if you could have done it better, you really would have.
Yeah.
And that's how I started forgiving myself for all that I had done wrong with money.
Yeah.
It was, and I've been able to build a very successful business and have a great life, but I had to get off my own back and know that, you know what, And there was times I was ashamed to ask, what are you talking about? Like in a circle of people, they would talk about a return on investment, or I didn't understand it. So you just smile and nod your head, and instead of, because you feel like someone's going to judge you. And I think we have enough women coaches and women people now out there, and investors and female founders that will take the time to mentor and actually teach us. You know, I met this woman the other day. She was so fantastic, in her mid-50s, and she says, I know nothing about money. I said, good for you. Thank you for telling me. Let me refer you to some amazing financial coaches to give you the basics. And she says, I'm so embarrassed to say it. I said, no, you're free now.
Oh, that's good.
You're free now.
Yeah. That is so good. And I will tell you, most of my clients are women, midlife, successful women who look like they know exactly what they're doing, but they're telling me that they know nothing about money. And somehow they've gotten to this point in life, you know, and they don't actually know very much.
And the fact that they say it, it's like the weight comes off.
It is a weight off.
Oh,
yeah.
And
but it's like something catastrophic has to happen for them to actually stop and go to someone and tell them that. It seems like, you know, so it's not just like other things where, you know, this is just something that we need to work on. And anyway, it's fascinating how little conversation there is. And you came, it sounds like, from a family who, you know, would have been able to teach you about money.
And we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it. It was just...
Yeah, it's fascinating. I was just talking to a Schwab advisor the other day, and she was telling me, it's the same thing. I mean, nobody knows anything about money. They come and she goes over a few things and they're like, oh my gosh, nobody's ever told me this stuff before. You know, and it's not high level stuff. It's really basic, or just talking about their budget or what they might want to do with money at some point.
Correct.
So we're not having any of the proper discussions about this. So.
But what I think we have to do is, especially as women, is we have to create a safe place for them to come and not feel judged. And it's okay. Right. It's okay. I mean, my mom and dad, nobody even taught me how to do a check register. Yeah. I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, I clearly remember my mom sitting me down and showing me how to reconcile my bank account and write the checks and do the register. And I give her a lot of credit for, I mean.
That's great. And we didn't even think about that.
Yeah. But that's kind of where it ended. It was about, like, you know, it was about the checking account, and then it didn't go beyond that, which also would be nice.
And it's so interesting. But then, of course, you hear things like save your money.
Yeah, you do hear
what does that mean? What does save your money mean?
Get a good job.
Does that mean
there's some money implication within that you don't really understand. So, and I, like I said, I think that first and foremost, we need to understand that money is energy. Second of all, we have to, as women, have to understand that we are receivers. We're receptive creators. And you can receive to create everything. You can receive healing around your money story to create a new life immediately. Immediately. You know, they talk about the valuable resources, that there are 7 valuable resources. Money is one of them. However, money is the easiest to get if you don't have it. Oh, that's good.
Love, joy, creativity, health, time. You can't get those effortlessly. Yeah. But money, we put that first on the list, and it's something to receive, but don't give it more power than it deserves. Have the power within you, and let your heart lead the way. And I have many women that switch all the time their money stories, and boy, they're just happier. Yeah, they're not any financially richer. Yeah, they're happier. Right, and I think that's a big deal.
Yes, it's a huge deal. And we were talking at the beginning about health and stress, and money is a huge source of stress, which impacts everything: your health, your relationships,
and the bottom line,
your joy, your everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you, as a creator, are continuing to create. You have this wonderful book. And what else are you creating?
Well, I'm actually this next month, for Women's Month in March, I am releasing my book on Audible. So it's coming out very soon. I believe by International Women's Day on March 8th, but we'll see.
Nice.
And I also teach workshops. And so I have a big one coming March 25th and 26th in Beverly Hills, a live event. We're live again. It's so much fun. And so people can join me. People are coming in from all over. So it'd be really fun to have somebody join me and or just check out my website and see when they are coming in the future. And come and learn about receiving, and really knowing that is your superpower as a female, is simply learning to receive so that you can create, and life gets easier.
I love that. And I am going to look at my calendar and try to make that March
great.
event. I've
Thank
heard
you.
amazing things about it, and
Thank you.
from several people. So it's been on my list, and now that you're here, I'm going to see if I can do that. So
Thank you.
That's wonderful. And your film that you
Yes, I forgot that. Yes, thank you for that. I just was fortunate to be the associate producer, one of them, on this upcoming film called Show Her the Money, which is about female founders and female investors and founders that are coming together to change this world. You know, we as women only get 2% of all VC money that there is, and we need to make that change. And so this is an incredible film created by Catherine Gray, Invest in Her. I was just so honored to be, a part of it and help to get people together to show up for this. So we're just about to launch the film coming up. We're really excited about it.
I'm really excited too. And Catherine Gray was on the show quite a while ago, but I don't remember the episode, but she also did a show and was talking about the very bleak statistics as well. It's really interesting. So I love that you're doing this film, and I can't wait to see it. And
thank you.
So how can people get a hold of you?
Well, all of my website is AndreaQuinnCoaching.com, or on Instagram, Andrea Quinn Coaching, and they can DM me or just take a look at everything that's going on. Okay. And I'm just very open to receiving women who really want to empower themselves, better their lives, and better their relationships, not only with money but with themselves. That's where my sweet spot is helping women to tell the truth about who they are and really be their best selves.
And of course, if they start there, the money will come.
The money's the easy part. The money is the easy part. It's our inner relationship with ourself that takes a little more work.
Yeah. Ooh, love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's a huge treat to have you in the studio too, which hasn't happened very much live. Yay. So I do hope to see you at your Beverly Hills retreat.
Thank you so much.
Audience, please reach out to Andrea and get more information from her. Check out her book. Check out the film that's coming up. You can, I'm sure, on your website there'll be more information about that. And keep doing that inner work, like she said. If you feel that you've got things in your life that are just misaligned, money being one of them, they'll all start to fall into place. I think when you work on one or more of them, it has a ripple effect. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. You can reach out to me at Michelle@limitfreelife.com. You can sign up for my newsletter, which then you can hear from me and the events going on. I have a new Money Date program coming up very soon. One is about to end. A new one's going to start sometime toward the end of March. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me. It's a great program to help you develop your relationship with money while you're also doing some kind of basic practical management sort of things that will help you reinforce the new beliefs that you're starting to have. So that's coming up. And join us again on the Money and You Show. We're here every Monday night, broadcasting from ubngo.com, and then the next day on all the podcast platforms, Roku, Limit Free Life YouTube channel, and anywhere your podcasts can be found. And thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.